All right, we are back with Steve Sipple from 93.7 The Ticket in Lincoln. Husker Online on 3 joins us now. Good morning.
How are you doing?
We're doing well. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I got a question. Why should I invest in Mando, the whole body deodorant?
Oh God. I don't know even know where to start with that.
How about pits, packages, and feet?
Feet.
Well, I mean, I just think here's the most underrated thing about it, and I just kind of stumbled on it. They have this. I mean, it's like lotion, so you can just you just put it on your arms, whatever, and then what you find is it makes your clothes smell good.
Yeah.
So when you take off your shirt, you're like, wait a second.
Sure.
I could wear this again tomorrow. It smells that good. So
Sip,
that's one thing.
There's
a lot about it.
I got a question.
That's pretty good ringing endorsement.
No.
I know it's a 72-hour odor control.
Yeah. I mean, you just be surprised. And it has a lot. There's a lot of different products.
Sure.
The spray is probably the best. I've used it for my truck. I've just sprayed it in my truck.
You spray deodorant in your truck?
Yeah, the spray. I mean, my truck's a disaster, and sometimes I've gotten in and I'm embarrassed. Like, this is a ridiculously bad smell. You work out and get in there, and you're just a dude, but if you spray some Mando in there, it takes care of it.
So I got a quick question for you. Would you attribute to your success as a writer because you're a good smelling human, or some of it at least?
No.
Okay.
I would. I don't make that connection.
Okay.
I'm very intelligent. I think that's more
that you are. Yes, absolutely. I just thought maybe I don't know, maybe like the people that you talk to, your sources, maybe they wouldn't want to talk to you if you were smelly Sipple. But the fact that you're using Mando.
Well, I think, listen, if you don't smell good, it would affect how people view you and deal with you. So, yeah. True. I mean, I'd counsel anybody Listerine and Mando. That's probably the two things that are very important in the morning.
Those are keys to life. Important to the sanity of the Nebraska fan is some success. What direction does Nebraska basketball go after another home loss last night?
Well, I think one thing is you don't panic. I don't. Fred Hoiberg is not prone to panic. You don't. All around him there'll be some level of panic. I'm not talking about his players. It's a veteran team. You just got to get some stuff figured out. I think I always say that you can't get emotional in these situations. Generally, you got to figure out what's going wrong, and I don't think there's a huge emotional component to that. So I don't know. They kind of lost their edge defensively.
Mm-hmm.
I think teams kind of have figured them out a little bit offensively. I thought USC's defense was just excellent. I mean, St. Thomas, the Millard North graduate, when he's up in your face, it's a lot to deal with. 6'7", 235. And they have some guys that can defend, and they have an excellent coach, and you're just in a fix now because every game is tough. This is that's the league you entered into. It's not the same as Gary's an older guy, so he remembers when in the Big 8 was much more forgiving.
I do.
You're not in a forgiving league now.
Yeah.
You got Wisconsin next and Illinois. Good luck.
And then Oregon. And then Oregon now.
Yeah. Right. So it's what I just keep emphasizing is this is an unforgiving league for those who are vulnerable. If you're vulnerable, good luck. You got to make yourself unvulnerable fast.
Sip, Bryce Williams, I mean, the second I got on to the station with Gary, we've talked about Alpha Bryce and how Bryce needed to be the number one option. And that was a big key to this team. And early on, he was that. And now since it's been a little bit like a disappearing act. He is away from the ball. He's not involved in the offense. And then all of a sudden, for a 3-minute stretch, he's taking a lot of shots and he's handling it. Then he's back to being in the background. Do you think, in your opinion, that is a coaching failure or is that a player failure?
Oh God, it's hard. Those are so. I mean, and we do this, and I respect the question.
Yeah.
There's just this tremendous void we have as media that we don't see practice.
Yeah.
And
Let's go.
I say that all the time. Gary gets tired of it. Probably I say it about football, but it also applies to that sort of question. I just can't answer it fully unless I see what's going on day to day. I think my lean would be it's a player issue.
Okay.
Fred, come on. I'll tell you something right now. I would never, I never worry about Fred's offensive acumen or really the way they're coached defensively. They're coached. They're coached well. You talk to any coach, and they'll tell you Fred is as prepared as you'll ever find.
Mm-hmm.
He prepares his teams extraordinarily well. I think he doesn't always get what he wants out of them. That's probably I think going in they're prepared, but I think in game it's not happening all the time, and there's some disconnect. But I think that's more of a player issue than a coaching issue.
Okay.
Steve Sipple joining us here on Gary and Matt. USA Today handed out grades for the season. They gave Nebraska a B. Would you agree with that?
Football.
Yep.
Yeah, B minus. Yeah, I wouldn't. I think it underachieved. So that's why I wouldn't even consider giving them an A. I'd have to probably attach a B minus. I might even get a C plus because they're better. I thought they were better, a little better than 7 and 6. I predicted 7 and 5. I predicted it thinking I'm just going to stay conservative. I actually think they're a little better than that. I thought that, and coming out of it, I'd say, oh, this is going to sound bad, but I think I nailed it. I thought they were a little bit better than a 7 and 6 type team.
Sip.
I didn't think it should be a team that squeaked into a bowl game. I thought they should get into one fairly easy.
Yeah. No, I mean, when you start the season 5-1, right?
Yeah.
They're poking around here in these early top 25 pictures. At ESPN, they were the honorable mentions, and on 3, they were firmly in 25 at 25. There's a lot of talk. I mean, just preseason hype that we really haven't seen as much from a national standpoint as opposed to a local standpoint. What's your kind of opinion on that? Do you think it's warranted? Are they in your top 25? I mean, what's kind of your outlook on them at this point?
Yeah, I think they're pretty good. I think they should be pretty good. I mean, I like the roster. I would have liked it better if they would have went and got Shaez Pete, another left tackle, and maybe that can still happen. I don't know. It gets. I mean, you missed out on some guys that I thought they had a legit chance to get. Isaiah World and Shaez Pete. There's probably another one in there that you thought. So I guess there's still some areas that you wonder about a little bit. But I think generally speaking, they did a good job of addressing their needs. The tackle situation and the secondary come to mind as areas where you still wonder about a little bit. Now they went and got some guys in the secondary. I don't know that any of them you just say are slam dunk starters. Andrew Marshall, Jameer Khan, and Justin Rhett. I don't know. Maybe one of those guys is. I think it helps to get Singleton back.
Yeah.
I still believe now I know I'm a little bit minority here, but I like Buford and I like Hartzog. They're not perfect. They get beat, but guys in the NFL are getting beat a lot too sometimes. So it's just those guys are veteran players. They've been with Butler. Butler obviously likes them. So let's just see what the competition looks like. They brought in guys to compete. Let's see how it shakes out.
Yeah, competition this spring at wide receiver and defensive back is going to be awesome.
Oh, God.
So the quarterback last night was at the basketball game, and he brought 3 newbies with him to hang out. He had his wide receiver, his number 1 wide receiver, Dane Key, with him. He had Rhett, who people forget about. Rhett committed out of the portal from Georgia, like way back when the portal opened. And then Mr. Pritchett was there last night. He is Sip, seeing him, he's a large individual. So those are three guys that were out of the portal. But with that said, and with Pritchett, and something you said about Pete, and you mentioned, I mean, it's unfortunate we can rattle off tackles that Nebraska has pursued in the portal but haven't gotten, or have, played the old switcheroo like Walter Rouse. What do you think the rhyme and reason is? Because Nebraska's aggressive, but they're not getting to the finish line. And at the last minute, Kentucky yanks Pete towards Lexington. Is there a familiar theme on why at that position Nebraska comes up short?
No, I don't know what it is. No, it's hard to read because you don't hear from the kids. You don't hear many interviews, right? It's just that's not part of the kind of the portal world. Doesn't include a lot of players explaining decisions. Am I wrong?
No, it's completely different compared to the high school recruiting.
Right. So it's hard. It's difficult. I followed the Pete thing closely, both, just reading what's going on, which you don't get a lot, but also talking to people that are involved. And even doing that, it was difficult because Pete doesn't talk much. He doesn't talk much to his agent. And then I'm glad I said the word agent, because agents are so critical in these discussions now. I hope people understand that. I can't emphasize it enough. I mean, I guess I talked about maybe on your show, Pete had an NFL agent. I can't say the name off the top of my head. I've put it out of my mind, but a high dollar prominent agent, Jared Goff's agent.
Isn't it Trace Armstrong?
No, it's not Trace Armstrong. He's not a name you'd recognize, but if you look him up,
Ryan Tolner.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I mean, just look at his background. Look who he represents, and he represents Shiaz Pete. So he didn't represent Shiaz Pete thinking he's going to get him $300,000.
Yeah.
I mean, he represented Shiaz Pete knowing that's 1.4, 1.5. And so you ask, well, what happened? Did Kentucky simply outbid Nebraska? I don't know. I don't know. The discussions really, the thing I always emphasize in that discussion is Nebraska is not coming up short because of lack of money or lack of effort. So I don't know what to say. Nebraska, Nebraska shelled out a lot of money in this round. Okay. So they're trying.
Give me a ballpark of what do you think they spent on the 15 in the portal they got?
I hate to do that. I will.
3-4 million?
I'm sorry?
If I just gave you a number, you could say, yeah, you're in the ballpark. 3 to 4 million?
Much more.
Oh, okay.
You think is it more double digits, you think, Sip?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I have to think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
wait a minute. So if they spent on the 15 that they have, and it's fairly good money, and you look at guys that are currently on the roster.
Okay, hold on. I got to back up. So if you're just talking those 15,
yes,
I'm talking as a whole.
I don't know, like 5.
Okay,
I'd have to think that through a little bit.
So Nebraska probably has a $10 million roster. Is that fair?
For sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Right. So, Sip, let's go back to the money. Let's go back to the money here. When you and now we're going back years now, but when NIL was first established, okay, name, image, and likeness is coming. Players are going to be able to make money off of their name, image, and likeness now in the NCAA. Could you have foreseen the dollar amounts going as high as they have, that they are now, and with no point of stopping at this point?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. How come?
I was educated very well by Jared Lambert on this. Jared was Frost's chief of staff, and Jared was on the cutting edge of NIL. and I like talking about this because Nebraska that was an example where Nebraska was back on the cutting edge of something.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Lambrick put together an NIL apparatus that was high level, and it gave Nebraska an advantage it gave them an advantage out of the gate. They haven't taken advantage of it, but it wasn't for lack of organization. Nebraska was more organized than I have to think 80 to 90% of the country. So I had a good sense from the very beginning. I mean, from a couple months before it was even in place, that this is serious, and there's going to be millions of dollars involved. So I would say that, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Sip, I appreciate it. Thank you. We started with deodorant. We ended it with money.
Yeah, the money discussion is very important.
Okay, so you've talked to Matt Rule plenty. Do you, and he may speak here in the next week, I think, with him coming back to
I think next week.
Yeah, next week he's going to speak. Do you think he would like to get into a conversation about the money again?
Like if you asked him, and I don't think he likes to talk about specific figures too much. He does drop them in conversation, you've noticed.
Yes.
A little bit. I mean, he's got to be careful in his position. So I don't know. I think that he would tell you what I'm telling you. Nebraska's very competitive. I'm not worried about Nebraska. I'm not worried about Nebraska coming up short as a program because they don't have the money and are not spending it wisely. I think they have the money and they spend it wisely. And another thing I like about Rule is he's not irresponsible. I mean, Nebraska's not irresponsible.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Let's see. I just like I like the roster. I kind of like what they've done. I would have liked it a little better if they would have got a tackle and a running back, but maybe that can still happen.
Yeah, there's plenty of time. Sip, as always, appreciate it. Have a great week.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, thanks, guys.
Good conversation there.